And in fact, Allah Azza wa Jalla throughout the Quran, we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the benefit of honey. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had mixed food. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had meat. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had roasted meat, barbecued. So all these things we've covered that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had. But one thing you find that roasted meat or meat, very rarely. Most of the time what happens, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wouldn't even have food. He would only have dates or water. Aswadain, two black things. And it means dates and water. And some hadith is mentioned one day he would eat, the other day he would fast. And this is occasionally. And not that he used to crave for these things, but if these things were presented, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had. Today, inshallah, we're going to cover hadith number 170. First of all, we are going to recite the transmission and the hadith, and then we're going to translate the hadith. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وبالسند المتصل منا إلى الإمام الترمذي رحمه الله تعالى ومتعنا بعلومه وبركاته آمين. قال حدثنا الحسن بن محمد الزعفراني قال حدثنا يحيى بن عباد عن فليح بن سليمان قال حدثني رجل من بني عباد يقال له عبد الوهاب بن يحيى بن عباد عن عبد الله بن الزبير عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها وعنهم قالت: ما كانت الذراع أحب اللحم إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ولكنه كان لا يجد اللحم إلا بالباء وكان يعجل إليها لأنها أعجلها النجار. Now this hadith is narrated by Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. She says that the foreleg was not the most beloved portion of meat to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. However, he would not find meat except occasionally, as I just mentioned, and he would take to it, meaning the foreleg, quickly, because it was the quickest portion to cook. It was quickest portion to cook. Now, there are a couple of things. One thing that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha says, that the foreleg was not the most beloved. Not the most beloved. Some of the ulama, they mentioned that there are different editions of this book, Shamiale, and some of the editions, this word ma in Arabic, which means not, is not mentioned. So basically, that nuskha and edition mentions actually it was beloved. But some of the editions mention the letter ma, nafiya, for negation, and it means not. So basically, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha is saying that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not crave for these foods or meat or roasted meat or foreleg. Whatever was presented, he would have. And this is why she adds at the end that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would have such things occasionally, once in a while. And even that time he wouldn't crave for it. And the second reason she mentions that why he would have this portion amongst all the portions, because it was the quickest portion to cook. Because he wouldn't wait for meat for 2-3 hours to be cooked and then he would eat. This is why Imam al-Suyuti rahmatullahi alayhi mentions that for talib al-ilm, for a student of knowledge, 3 things are must. This student of knowledge, he has to be very quick in terms of writing. Whenever teacher is saying something, he gotta take notes very quickly. Whenever he's walking, he has to walk very, very briskly and fast to catch up, because it used to be not like madrasas that we have today. All the classes are at madrasa. But rather those ulama at that time, tabi'een and tabi'ut tabi'een and salafus salihin, they would go to one teacher, and then after this class is done, they would go to another city to learn another book by another teacher. So Imam al-Suyuti rahmatullah is saying that he has to be very quick on his feet. And number 3, he mentions he has to be very quick in terms of eating. Make sure he's not taking hours in eating. The way we are sitting on the dastarkhan and just chit-chatting and eating and khalas, wasting time. So basically Imam al-Suyuti rahmatullah is saying that student of knowledge, true student of knowledge, he doesn't waste time. He doesn't waste time. And Imam al-Suyuti didn't know that we're going to have restrooms and then we're going to be sitting in the restroom for hours. We're going to be wasting time in the restroom because everyone has cell phones, and sitting on the toilet, they're using cell phones. For hours, just sitting. Now, look at our level. And then we complain that my memory is weak. I forget things very quickly. I don't know much about, I cannot seek knowledge, etc., etc. All these excuses because of our own, behavior. Anyhow, so this is what Aisha radiallahu ta'ala has said. Next hadith number 171. وبه قال حدثنا محمود بن غيلان قال حدثنا أبو أحمد قال حدثنا مسعر قال سمعت شيخا من فهم قال سمعت عبد الله بن جعفر يقول سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن أطيب اللحم لحم الظهر. Now this hadith is narrated by Abdullah ibn Ja'far radiyallahu ta'ala. He says that I heard Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, the most excellent meat, atiyab, the most tasty meat, or the best of the meat, or the most delicious meat, is the meat lahmul dhahr, is the back meat. The back of the animal, the meat which is found, that meat. So this hadith talks about that. And then ulama, they mention and discuss, even in terms of nowadays, that which meat it refers to, back meat. So, have you guys heard of filet mignon? Nasir? Filet mignon? Right? You know how much it costs? For a pound? Like 500 or even 1,000 filet mignon. That's the back meat. So why? So perhaps that's the meat that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is referring to. Even though he never had it, some ulama say. But some ulama, the objection comes, and how did Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam know? That it's a atiyabul lahm, the most tasty, the most delicious, the best. One answer ulama gave through wahi. He knew through wahi. But a majority of ulama say that actually Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had it. Not that every day, maybe once or twice he had it. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that that's the best. Why? Again, it is quick to be cooked and very quick to be digested. Good for your health. Wallahu a'lam. Now, other hadith mentions that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam also liked dhira'an wal katif. And we've covered those ahadiths. Dhira'an, the meat of the forelegs, and wal katif, the meat of the shoulders. Again, all these meats. And another hadith talks about al-raqaba, the neck, the meat which is found in the neck. That was also the most beloved to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The two reasons we've already understood. Number one, tender, easy to cook, and easy to digest. Another reason that ulama mentions that because it is very far from the bad portion of the meat or the stomach, intestines, etc., right? And it is closest to the purest part, which is brain and other things. So this is perhaps another reason that these were most beloved to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But again, you understand that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wouldn't have these things every day or every other day, once in a while. And perhaps someone has invited him and then he had it. Most of the time, he would fast. The other days, he would have dates. The other days, mixed food. The other days, gourd. Right? We've understood that hadith as well. Now, also, at the same time, we just understood that these were the beloved meat to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is another hadith. That hadith is narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar, and some say Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that there are some meats which were disliked by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then ulama mentions that some of them are haram and some of them are makruh. And when we say makruh, it is makruh tahrimiyya meaning close to haram. Now what are those seven? Even though seven in terms of goat, he mentioned in terms of goat, but in terms of cow or buffalo, there are more, much more. Now what are seven? Number one, flowing blood. Flowing blood is haram, which is mentioned in the Quran. Number two, private part, right? Number three, testicles. Kabure. Nowadays in Pakistan, people, they love them. Katakat. You go to Karachi, oh, subhanallah. That's one of the top of the list. Katakat. And even KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, testicles. So that's something that we gotta avoid. Okay? So there is a discussion that haram or makruh, of course, makruh tahrimiyya, for sure, could be haram. Allahu a'lam. Number four, internal part of the female animal. External part, not internal. Number five, glands. Number six, urinary bladders. And number seven, gallbladders. These are the seven which are disliked. Some are haram and some are makruh tahrimiyya. And then there are other discussions that which other parts of the animals, makruh and ghair makruh and haram, etc. So there is a huge discussion in that as well. Hadith number 172. وبه قال حدثنا سفيان بن وكيع قال حدثنا زيد بن الحباب عن عبد الله بن المؤمل عن ابن أبي مليكة عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها وعنه قال أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال نعم الإدام الخل. Even though we've covered this hadith so many times, not one time, so many times, again Imam al-Tirmidhi rahmatullah alayhi brings this hadith, and this hadith talks about al-khal, which is vinegar. The translation is that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she reports that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what an excellent condiment vinegar is. Now, he mentions this hadith again here because the transmission is different. And when the transmission is different, that is considered another separate hadith. Okay? So, even though the wording of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam are same, but the transmission in the beginning changes, that is considered another separate hadith. And he brought this hadith to emphasize upon this topic, al-khal. Next hadith. وبه قال حدثنا أبو كريب قال حدثنا أبو بكر عياش عن ثابت أبي حمزة الثمالي عن الشعبي عن أم هاني رضي الله تعالى عنها وعنه قالت دخل علي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال أعندك شيء فقلت لا إلا خبز يابس وخل فقال هات ما أقفر بيت من أدم فيه خل. This hadith also we've covered before, but again, little bit in transmission. The transmission is different and the wording of hadith is a little bit different. The translation of this hadith is, first of all, this hadith is narrated by Hani. And from Hani, there is a man, if you can see, Sha'bi. Sha'bi narrates from Hani. Sha'bi was someone who never placed pen to paper. Sha'bi was someone who never placed pen to paper, meaning he would memorize everything. Whenever he would hear anything, he would memorize it. And he memorized all the ahadiths that he learned from his teachers. He had excellent memory. Now Abdullah ibn Umar, as you know, Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of Umar radiallahu anhuma, once he was walking, and Sha'bi rahimahullah ta'ala, he was giving dars. And he was narrating a hadith which was about a battle. So Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala said that Wallahi, by Allah, the way Sha'bi is narrating that battle as if that he participated in that battle, even though I was the one who participated, but I cannot recall these things the way he is recalling. This is how excellent his memory was, Sha'bi. So these are some of our great scholars, Imam Sha'bi, rahimahullah ta'ala. So he narrates from Hani. And Hani, as most of you know, anyone know? First of all, Hani. Hani was very close to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Hani was the daughter of Abu Talib. She was the cousin of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. She was the sister of Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And they had very close relationship. Perhaps they grew up together. Now Hani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Now she says, قالت, that Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to see me. And this is on the day of Fath Makkah, the conquest of Makkah. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam went to the house of Hani. Now, first thing, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is hungry. So, he goes to Hani. دخل علي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال أعندك شيء. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is asking, do you have anything to eat? Now, here ulama mentions that this is an indication that he sallallahu alayhi wasallam was hungry at this time. And this also shows the permissibility that if you are close to someone in such a way that you have full 100% trust that if you're going to ask them, they're not going to refuse and reject you, then you can go ahead and ask, and you can be frank with them in terms of asking whatever you're asking, whether that is food or anything else. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he had relationship with Hani, such a relationship that he's so casual, walking in. Do you have anything in, just like your own house, right? So, فَقُلْتُ, so I, meaning Hani, saying that I replied, no, no. And then, إِلَّا خُبْزٌ يَابِسٌ وَخَلٌّ, I said, no, except for some dry bread and vinegar. Basically, what ulama is saying, that she said no before mentioning these dry things, right? Because she felt ashamed. She felt embarrassed that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to my house and he's asking for food and I don't have anything. I don't have anything. So she's feeling embarrassed. So first she said no, and then she said, these two things I have, except these two things I have nothing. But look at the response of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So at this time, Hani is feeling embarrassed and shy. And the response of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is, bring it on. MashaAllah, bring it on. No home in which there is vinegar is out of condiment. That's the best of the condiments. Bread and vinegar, MashaAllah, bring it on. So now Hani is feeling that this is the best of the foods that I could serve to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And this is how Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was. That he never made someone feel embarrassed and shy. And this is something that we should take from this dars. You know, we always look for faults in others. There's a famous scholar, there used to be amongst the Salaf. His name was Hatim al-Asam. Hatim al-Asam. He was a great scholar, Hanafi scholar. One time what happened that a elderly lady came to ask some masail. So what happened, because she was old, so what happened that she let off some gas and wind. And it was quite obvious that what happened. So she was very embarrassed. Very, very embarrassed and shy. So now she didn't know what to do. Ask, leave, she's stuck there, freeze. So someone asked Hatim something. He said, I cannot hear anything. Speak louder. Speak louder. So she felt that, oh, subhanAllah, he didn't hear anything. He didn't hear anything. So again, she said something. He said, I cannot hear. Speak louder. 3-4 times. And this is how he got the name Al-Asam. Hatim Al-Asam. And Asam in Arabic means Summu Bukmun. Sum. Al-Asam, deaf. Hatim the deaf, even though he wasn't deaf. For the rest of his life, he was considered as deaf, even though he wasn't deaf. Ajib. 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 Subhanallah. Anyhow. So, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, bring it on. No home in which there is vinegar is out of condiments. And that's the best of the condiments that you could have, that is vinegar and bread. Now, next hadith is, but before that hadith, here the Prophet ﷺ is teaching his ummah that they should not make food the purpose of their life, the maqsad of their life. You know, the maqsad of life is ibadah. The maqsad and the purpose and the objective of our life is servitude to Allah Azza wa Jalla, not food. You know, many cases that we see nowadays in our society, that because of food we have disputes. You know, when I say food, that walimas, aqiqas, or just get together and the other brother or sister, right? Khalas. And then rest of their life, they're not even talking. So it's because of what? Food. Because of food. But Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam never gave this priority to food. So this is why ulama mentions that we do not live to eat. We do not live to eat, but we eat to live. Meaning, the objective of our life is not to eat. But wallahi, I've been to Pakistan. The only thing that people do over there and they're concerned of is eating. Kahan jana hai aaj? Where we're eating today? Which what do you call that? The restaurants. We're going, when we're gonna go. Shanwari, Amir, Tikka, kebab, that's it. Every single day, this is the concern. Yani, even here, this weekend pe kya pakega? Barbecue hoga, chops honge, kya honge? Only thing we talk about, we never talk about reviving our iman, doing mudhakara, reminding each other al-amr bil ma'roof and nahy anil munkar. You look at the Sahaba, ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, they had that fikr of akhirah. We have fikr of dunya. So this is something that we have to work on. Anyhow, last hadith inshallah. وبه قال حدثنا محمد بن المثنى قال حدثنا محمد بن جعفر قال حدثنا شعبة عن عبد بن مرة عن مرة الهمداني عن أبي موسى الأشعري رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال فضل عائشة على النساء كفضل الثريد على سائر الطعام. Amazing hadith. And what a beautiful hadith. First we'll just translate and then we'll understand. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the virtue of Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha over other women is like the virtue of tharid over other foods. Does anyone know what is tharid?
You said it last time,
Yeah. Mixture of broth and bread. Mixture of curry, broth, and maybe perhaps some meat in it, and juri, and this is tharid. Now, question is, to begin with, what is tharid? We just understood that. Now, what is the comparison? Tharid and Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala. Now, it is tharid, it is very easy to make. Very easy. Now, it's very economical. Okay, it doesn't cost you much. It's very beneficial for your health. It's easy to digest and it's very tasty. Okay. Now, this fadila of Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha over other women. Now, there's a huge discussion and a very long discussion that who is the most virtuous woman in Islam of all time. Then you see some of the ahadiths Aisha radiyallahu. You see other ahadiths Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala. You see other ahadiths Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala. You see other hadiths Maryam alayhi salam. You see other hadiths Asiya alayhi salam. Right? So all these different ahadiths. Long discussion. So eventually, one of the opinion of ulama is that overall, generally, the most virtuous woman is Khadija radiallahu anha. Because she'd been through a lot. And she saw it all. And she was the one who was with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam from day one and supported Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam when no one supported Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And also, who is Fatima? Fatima is the daughter of Khadija. So who is more virtuous? Mother or daughter? Mother. Ulama mention. That's one of the opinions. Others say Fatima because she is peace of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. While others say Aisha. So there is no contradiction. Perhaps some are more virtuous than others in terms of some things. Like Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Aisha afdalu min jihati al-ilm. Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha is afdal and virtuous, the most virtuous in terms of ilm. In terms of ilm. No one can surpass her in knowledge. No one. No one. She was alima, she was faqiha, she was the muftiya. The first muftiya in Islam was Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala. Sahaba, scholar Sahaba, they would come to Aisha to seek fatwa. And she would give fatwa. So the first muftiya of Islam was Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Now, this is why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, خُذُوا دِينَكُمْ هَذِهِ الْحُمَيْرَاءِ. take your deen from this little red one. Humayra, most of you know Humayra was a pet name of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would call her Humayra. Right? You know that, right? Humayra. And Humayra is from Humr, and Humr means red. And Humayra is tasghir of red. So this small red one, you take your deen. Because her complexion, she was reddish. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would call her Humayra. So خُذُوا دِينَكُمْ هَذِهِ الْحُمَيْرَا. Take your deen. If you want to learn your deen, take your deen from her. Learn your deen from her. Now, Ata ibn Abi Rabah rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, كانت أفقه الناس. She was the most faqih of all the people. وأعلم الناس, the most knowledgeable amongst the people. وأحسن الناس رأيا, and she had the best opinion amongst the people, meaning she was always balanced. She was always balanced. Now why, again, comparison with Farid and Aisha, what is the connection in between them? Imam Tibi rahmatullahi alayhi mentions this, that Farid, it gives you quwwah and strength. It is tasty, easy to make, very economical, very beneficial for your health, easy to digest. That's why, with comparison to it, virtues of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala are mentioned because she was extremely well-mannered, okay, eloquent, fasiha, right? She was most knowledgeable, she was most beloved by everyone because of her knowledge, because of being al-Mu'mineen. Just like Thurid is beloved to everyone. This is the comparison. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Allah knows best. And the second hadith is also same meaning, which mentions that let me read the transmission in this. Inshallah, we'll be done. وبه قال حدثنا علي بن حجر قال حدثنا إسماعيل بن جعفر قال حدثنا عبد الله بن عبد الرحمن بن معمر الأنصاري أبو طوالة أنه سمع أنس بن مالك رضي الله تعالى عنه يقول قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فضل عائشة على النساء كفضل الثريد على سائر الطعام. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the virtue of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha over other women is like the virtue of Tharid over other foods. This is what I mean. Why he mentions this, Imam al-Tirmidhi? Because Thurid is mentioned. And Thurid is also something which is considered amongst the idam, right? Condiments, which is mixture of bread and curry and broth, etc. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant us ability to understand. Inshallah, 6-7 ahadiths are mentioned. Next week, we're going to be done with this chapter because this chapter took us, is going to be 7th part next week, inshallah. So 7 classes took us to reach and complete, inshallah, this chapter, very long chapter. After that, very small chapters, 2-3 ahadiths in each chapter.